SCP-999, one of the friendliest SCPs in the Foundation, is famous for being capable of permanently curing depression, and even managed to make SCP-682 friendly for a short while. In one of our last videos, we paired the Tickle Monster with SCP-096, but this makes us wonder what would happen if we tested it with other famous anomalies, 106 for example. In this SCP Exploration episode, we explore an SCP-106 vs SCP-999 test. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel with notifications on, so you don't miss any of our upcoming Exploring SCP videos, as very soon we are pairing SCP-999 with another very famous SCP anomaly. In order to say how such an interaction would look like, we need to refer to our SCP-106 backstory video in order to understand the anomaly's behavior better. And as we discussed in that video, which you should definitely check out if you haven't already, the old man was originally a researcher that was transported into an alternate reality while working on a reality anchor with his wife, Dr. Lang. The alternate reality, called SCP-3001, consisted of a different state of matter, and this caused the researcher to slowly decompose. Along with Dr. Scranton, a recording machine was also transported into SCP-3001, which allowed us to access the notes he made while inside. The transcripts show the researcher desperately trying to find an exit, all the while thinking about his wife and stating how much he missed her. And after 30 years of isolation and decomposition, Scranton was turned completely mad. He successfully escaped, however, and returned to the SCP site where his wife still worked and kissed her, melting her face away and killing her. The transformation to SCP-106 was now complete. The anomaly's pocket dimension is either a modified SCP-3001 or a similar alternate dimension that still causes SCP-106 to decay inside. Because of this, the old man needs to occasionally attack prey and consume their matter in order to prevent further degeneration. This explains why SCP-106 goes through long periods of dormancy, during which the anomaly remains completely motionless. It doesn't need to attack people 24/7 in order to survive, and probably doesn't want to either. Let's not forget the researcher was turned mad as a result of isolation and decomposition. The only thing Scranton wanted most, to see and kiss his wife once again, resulted in her instantaneous death, which without a doubt emotionally damaged the entity forever. So why is this so important to our SCP-106 vs SCP-999 experiment? Well, it tells us what SCP-106's motives for its behavior are, and how the anomaly is emotionally. So now we can use this information to compare SCP-682 and SCP-106's behavior and motives. Given that the indestructible lizard has already been tested with the Tickle Monster, we can conclude what kind of effects the friendliest SCP in the Foundation would have on the old man as well. First of all, what does SCP-682 feel, and why is it as aggressive as it is? As we discussed in our SCP-682 origin video, the lizard is the Scarlet King, the devil in the SCP universe's offspring. And just as the Scarlet King wants to eradicate all life, so does SCP-682. And when it comes to emotions, the indestructible lizard feels nothing but hatred towards all life. So now let's check out the SCP-682 vs SCP-999 test. As we all know, the Tickle Monster made the lizard repeat the word happy and roll on its back like a puppy, something totally unimaginable when it comes to SCP-682. And now in comparison, SCP-106 is a human being that mutated into an anomaly after more than 30 years of isolation and decomposition. After its escape, the entity wanted to meet its former wife, something it had dreamed of for over 30 years, but this ended in disaster. We can all imagine how heartbroken SCP-106 must have been after all this. Working for the SCP Foundation, taking care of one's family, and all of a sudden have this happen to you. And now you need to kill people as well, in order to stay alive. SCP-106 obviously turned evil at this point, given the fact that the anomaly kidnaps and tortures people in its pocket dimension. But still, this is a far cry from being the son of the literal devil and having the idea to destroy all life be hard-coded into your mind since you were born, like with SCP-682. If SCP-999 successfully calmed the anomalous lizard down and made it happy, even for a short while, then surely the Tickle Monster will have a more powerful effect on SCP-106. And let's not forget that SCP-999 can permanently cure depression and PTSD, both of which are major mental disorders. All this leads us to the conclusion that SCP-999 will most definitely have a positive effect on SCP-106, and the effect could even be permanent. The Tickle Monster could use its anomalous powers to help Dr. Scranton look past the decades of suffering he went through and the fate of his wife, and help him find a new reason to live, one that does not include kidnapping and torturing people. Maybe SCP-106 will even agree to work for the SCP Foundation once again, to make up for all the disasters it is responsible for. It would make an excellent alternate dimension explorer, for example, given its abilities to phase through solid matter, or it could help us contain dangerous Keter-class SCPs by trapping them in its pocket dimension. Having SCP-106 be cured of its hatred and vengeance and even agree to work with the Foundation once more sounds excellent, a bit too good to be true even. And indeed, we have overlooked a small detail that could very well change this entire experiment. In order for SCP-999 to have an effect on anything, physical contact must be made, as stated in the Tickle Monster's wiki article. And as we already know, the old man causes all matter that comes into contact with him to decompose, organic and non-organic. This means that we could be putting SCP-999's life in danger by performing this experiment. To be more specific, in SCP-106's wiki entry, it is stated that the old man's mucus is particularly detrimental to living tissue, and the decomposition lasts for about 6 hours before the effect wears out. This raises many questions. Could SCP-999 be immune to this effect, given the fact that it is very durable, as we've seen from the lizard experiment when it was stepped on? Would the mucus spread to SCP-999's entire mass, or would it only partially injure the Tickle Monster? Would the cute SCP even survive? These are all questions that we cannot answer. The only possible way to learn something would be to take a sample of SCP-999's slime, combine it with 106's mucus and see what happens. But this would only give us a rough idea, and if the Tickle Monster's slime is infected, then the whole experiment is still a no-go. And to be honest, the mucus will more than likely begin destroying SCP-999 despite its resistance, as 106's black substance comes from SCP-3001. Mixing the two substances would be the equivalent to bringing SCP-999's slime into the red reality, which, as we know, slowly destroys all materials. So it appears that a test with SCP-106 would either partially damage the Tickle Monster, or would lead to its total destruction, something the SCP Foundation simply cannot afford. SCP-999 is rumored to be the only thing capable of stopping the Scarlet King, after all. A 106-999 experiment wouldn't even fully cure the old man of his hatred, as the Tickle Monster's effect takes time to reach full effectiveness, and SCP-999 would probably back off instantly as soon as it is burned by SCP-106. The question why SCP-999 has been tested with SCP-682, and not with SCP-106, which is not nearly as powerful as the indestructible lizard, appears to be answered. So in the end, we've achieved nothing. And once again, we are left to repeat that if something seems too good to be true, it probably is, especially when it comes to SCP Foundation experiments. This concludes our video on the SCP-106 vs SCP-999 experiment. So what do you think? Would SCP-999 be killed by the old man's mucus? And would the short interaction between the two be enough to cure SCP-106 of its hatred? Let us know in the comments below. Please make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and don't forget to subscribe if you enjoy this type of content, as we have many more interesting exploring SCP videos coming up. And as always, we will see you in the next video.